yours is CBD oil effect on
like how it helps anxiety.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I really do believe in CBD oil. So
Me too.
my mom uses it. I love my grandma, but she was like, "You're just putting it in your body a different way. It's still weed." And I'm like, "No."
Okay, well, I hope I can remember. What the fuck? I'm just scared I'm not gonna get any points for it.
Don't worry about it right now. We can just do this first.
Okay, so I'm really gonna be like,
don't worry about that. Like, it's not even here.
Okay, so on average, we interact with a minimum of 3 new people a day. We can remember the people we have interacted with from the age of 5, and if you live to the age of at least 78, you have interacted with around 80,000 people in your lifetime. And I believe that is like a big amount of people. But out of those 80,000 people, 64 of them will suffer from daily anxiety. When I was a sophomore in high school, I would worry constantly, although I had reasons to, so I felt like I was understanding my worrying. At this time, my mom and I were living paycheck to paycheck, and we just had recently lost our house, so that was why I was worrying. I was on edge for just the next thing to go wrong in my life. Girls were mean and were saying that my life was perfect because of the way I dressed and the way I held myself. I would break out into hot flashes and I would feel sick to my stomach daily in high school. I knew why though, so I didn't think really anything of it. My heart would constantly feel like it was beating out of my chest at times. Although at this time it was not mainstream to talk about feelings like anxiety, depression, and addiction. Growing up, I was very caring around the people who were around me and the people who were good to me. I loved helping my friends with the latest drama or their latest heartbreaks. There was a lot of it in my high school, let me tell you that. My friends always told me that I was like their mini counselor. I have always cared about others and their just general well-being and mental health. When I started at Ball State, I knew that I wanted to do something to help others. And that's where I found myself minoring in mental health and in sociology. I had learned so much about the others around me and more of myself. And I can also tell you that I know that I have been suffering from anxiety from a young age now. After learning this, I knew that there had to be other people around me that were going through very similar things but didn't know how to talk about it or didn't know what was happening to them. For those who may not know, anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervous, or unease, typically about an immediate event or something that has an uncertain outcome. Symptoms of anxiety are restlessness, a feeling of on edge, uncontrollable feelings or worry, increased irritability, concentration difficulties, sleep difficulties, not being able to stay still, dry mouth, nausea, heart palpitations, cold, sweaty, and tingling hands. Now, I am not saying that all of us have anxiety because that is not true, although I bet most of us have had many of these feelings at one time. It is a normal part of life to experience occasional anxiety, although if you are feeling many of these every day of your life, you might want to talk to someone because anxiety is very real and serious. From learning about mental health, I am very self-aware of which is what I thought about my mental state and what I was feeling. It had been a while since I had many anxiety issues, until about a month or two ago, but it was almost unbearable. Although this time it was almost worse because I had been learning about it and I was very educated on it. So I knew what was happening to me and what my brain was going through, and I knew that if I didn't get certain help in the next month or two, it could end up being really bad for me. I went home from a long weekend of feeling on edge, carrying shirts in my book bag just in case I had a bad hot flash and constant nausea. I opened up to my mom, although she had been understanding how I was feeling since high school because she is my best friend. My mom and I have gone through a lot together. So we sat down and researched as many doctors, therapists, and exercises that could potentially help the way I was feeling. Until CBD oil came up. And I will tell you guys right now, I am not a weed smoker at all. So when CBD came up, there was no way I thought that I would be taking this. Although my mom told me my cousins had been taking it ever since last year when my aunt passed away, and it had been helping them a lot with their anxieties of the unknown. I was living life with anxiety and trying to calm myself down with tips and tricks that I had learned in class, and it just wasn't enough anymore. So the next morning, my mom and I went to the vitamin shop and we bought a bottle of CBD. Many of you are probably thinking that I'm high right now talking to you, although I am not. CBD pills, oils, and gummies are high in CBD and low in THC. CBD specifically comes from the flowers and leaves of the hemp plant. The human body has a vast network of receptors called the I'll learn how to say that when it's time, system, which helps us maintain overall wellness and keep many of our physical processes moving in the right direction. The only thing CB does is it stimulates these, helping our bodies complete its efforts in keeping us in good health. So to answer your question, no, I am not high right now. CBD is made to help support the sense of calm or focus, manage everyday stresses, recovery from exercise-induced inflammation, and maintain a healthy sleep cycle. And I know I have also stated the symptoms of anxiety, and if you remember those, CBD hits quite a bit of those, such as restlessness or feeling on edge, uncontrollable feelings of worry, concentration difficulties, sleep difficulties, and not being able to stay still or focus. So it has been, at this time, I'll probably say, it's been about a month now since I've been taking CBD, and I can tell you that I've been sleeping better, I've been not nauseous. I still carry a t-shirt in my book bag just in case of hot flashes, just because you never know when those can happen. But other than that, like, I've been feeling great ever since taking CBD. I don't know how I'm really going to wrap it up, because I feel like it's hard because I know I'm probably going to be pretty close to time there. I was really just going to fill in like a little bit more information about CBD because it's not like I can anybody have questions.
Yeah.
So
I do have just a couple notes for that. Okay. I didn't time you because I wanted to hear you run it first.
Yeah.
And then do the notes and then time it.
Yeah.
So you said 80,000 at the beginning, 64. So 64,000 or just 64 people?
Oh, I only said 64.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I meant 64,000.
Okay, so you got to make sure you say the 1,000 because that made it sound like there was
not that many.
No issue. Like it was like
okay.
It was like a 1 out of 100 people that get on condoms.
Yeah.
So that story you start to mention with your mom and stuff, it felt like, I guess the entire like kind of beginning right there before like once you start to introduce the CBD and stuff like that, it's a little jumbled.
Okay.
So I'm gonna want us to go through and run that, and we can kind of maybe clarify that up a little bit. Have you run this before?
No.
Okay, that's what it was. Because you sounded very robotic, so I want us to go through and I want us to work on the delivery a little bit. And then you did not pause to take a breath the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You have maximum 10 minutes. Even with the beginning time, we have not even hit 10 minutes yet. So you have
always
time.
Have that issue.
You have time.
Some parts need pauses.
Definitely. Because you can lose the effect of what you've said by completely going. Because I really feel like you had, like as Ashley calls it, like the drop the mic moment.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And that's because I talk so fast nobody can even tell what the fuck I'm saying.
So what I want us to do is that I want to go through it with you, just you talking. Don't worry about time, don't worry about anything like that. Just read it how you would. I'll stop you when I'm starting to get lost or confused, okay? And whenever I do that, I just want you to put a question mark in there and highlight the section I mentioned, and we'll keep going. And then we'll go back through and edit it, okay?
Okay.
Because I want to go through and like find the places that you're kind of losing your audience, and then once we've found those places, slightly improve it, and then I want you to read through it again and see if it helped. Does that make sense?
I'm still gonna read from you. So I'll try to sound
robotic. It wasn't robotic because you were reading from it. It was robotic because you haven't really gotten comfortable with it yet. So that's just something that'll come with time.
Okay. So, stay strong in my system. Is that like a good first thing to say though? If I say it correctly, the statistic.
Yes.
Okay.
If you say it correctly, yeah.
Okay.
But it did not have the impact you wanted it to at the beginning because I was like
64.
I was like that's less people. Yeah, you heard my joke already. So.
Okay, so on average, we interact with a minimum of 3 people a day. We can remember the people we have interacted with from the age of 5, and if you live to at least the age of 78, in your lifetime you will have interacted with 80,000 people. I believe that is a big amount of people. And out of those 80,000 people, 64,000 of them will suffer from everyday anxieties. When I was a sophomore in high school,
So there's no connection really between what you just said and what you're moving on to. So let's highlight that.
Okay.
That's something we need to put a little bit better transition in with.
Okay.
Sorry, I haven't eaten yet, so
no, you're fine.
Food, but so that needs a little bit better transition.
Okay, I agree.
So.
Okay, now, when I was a sophomore in high school, I would be worrying constantly, although I had every reason to. At this time, my mom and I were living paycheck to paycheck, and we recently just lost our house.
Pause. So, I was worrying constantly, though I had every reason to. Right there, with that every reason to, you're gonna want to put like a little tone with it, whether it's sass, whether it's a little sarcasm. Right there is going to be one of the places you want to emphasize.
Okay.
Please continue. No, you're fine. Like you don't need to change what you said or anything there.
I'm just like making the font different, so I like know. Okay. That's why I was worrying. I was on edge waiting for just the next thing to go wrong in my life. Girls were mean and saying that my life was perfect because of the way I dressed and how I held myself. They had no They had no clue what was actually going on in my life.
So, with that chunk with the girls, you have the opportunity again to kind of do some emphasizing there. So like, girls were mean. They would say that my life couldn't be anything less than perfect because I wore the right clothes and of how I carried myself. But in reality, they were wrong. Like, did you hear that?
Yeah, that was way different than what I said.
And like I said, it'll come with knowing your piece well, but like just to like go through and kind of mark.
So I can hear it, yeah.
So continue from there.
Okay. I would break into hot flashes and feel sick to my stomach. Although I knew why though, so I didn't think anything of it. My heart would feel like it was beating out of my chest at times. Although at this time it was not mainstream to talk about issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction. Growing up.
So stop. Read that part again. From the girls are mean.
Okay. Girls are mean and saying that my life was perfect because of the way I dressed and how I held myself. Although in reality they were wrong. I would break into hot flashes and feel sick to my stomach. I knew why though, so I didn't think anything of it.
So right there, just so that I know for clarification, you knew why because you were anxious, right?
I knew why I was feeling anxious because girls were mean and I didn't know when they were going to be mean next. I I didn't know if me and my mom were gonna have certain money to pay bills or anything. So I was thinking to myself, well, I'm worrying, but I have every reason to. So it's not anybody would be worrying if they were me. Like it's not crazy to be worrying.
So maybe there, instead of saying, but I knew why, so I moved on, be like, I was living on edge, so it made sense to me that this was happening.
Okay.
Because that causes a little bit of confusion, because that almost makes me think you knew you had anxiety.
I was living on edge. What did you say? I was living on edge.
So it made sense that this is how I was reacting, or this is how I was feeling. And just in general, you have like a lot of powerful statements in this. So make sure that you're still emphasizing those powerful impact statements, because that's where you have the power to sway your audience. Because if you just say it like, the girls were mean to me and it made me sad. The girls are mean to me and it made me really sad.
Completely different.
Yep. So when you're reading it now, just maybe try and add a little bit of that, so that I'm not like, hey, you should add that there.
Yeah. Okay. It's just hard for me. Like I am not comfortable with it, but also like I've never like talked about it. Like.
And I think it's a really awesome thing for you to be talking about.
Like. Oh yeah.
And even if you don't get it with me, that's fine. Like I do not care if you completely read it like a robot this entire time.
But I'm gonna try not to.
No, like whatever you're comfortable with.
Do you think? Okay, so I said I was living on edge, so it made sense this way. I mean, it's made sense to feel this way. Should I move? My heart felt like it was beating out of my chest at times. That's totally should not be there. This should be moved here. So I should say I would break into hot flashes and feel sick to my stomach. My heart felt like it was beating out of my chest at times, but I was living on edge, so it made sense to feel this way.
Yes.
Okay. And then I need to say, although at this time it was not mainstream to talk about issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction.
No, although there, because you said that about 6 times. So I would say, at this time.
I don't even need to say it all, although in general. There's no there's no reason to even say although.
I would just say, and at this time there is no real conversation about anxiety or mental health in general, or whatever you have there. But I would just get rid of the although and kind of just do like an and or something. Make it flow a little bit better.
Yeah, and when I'm like, I don't know if you've noticed, but when I'm giving speeches, I'm like, although, it's like instead of saying I say although. I don't know why. That's what I do.
My mom will take a breath, and sometimes she'll go, like, just try to make the breath last as long as possible so she can find her place again. And she's like, don't do that. I do that, don't do that. So I used to smack my gums like that when I'd be thinking, and I've broken that habit. I'm very proud of it. But, I mean, although is a fine habit to have, because you're not saying I would just
not say although. Okay, so at this time it was not mainstream to talk about issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction. There were no conversations about mental health going on. Growing up, I was also very caring to the people around me. I loved helping my friends with the latest drama and heartbreaks. And let me tell you, there was a lot of them at my high school.
So that really doesn't get there.
What I was trying to do was lead up to why I thought, like my friends, the reason why I started looking into mental health and sociology is because I was going to be a counselor. So in this, it says, my friends always told me I was their counselor. So I was saying, like, I always cared for people. So when I started, and then I lead into when I started at Ball State, I knew that I wanted to do something to help others. So that's why I chose my minors in mental health and sociology.
How I would almost put that is I would do it before, but girls were mean to me. And then you have that, and there were no conversations about mental health. So when I got to Ball State, I knew I already had an interest in this because I wanted to learn. That's how I came about my minors. Because you talk about like you're very
Okay, yeah.
like, do you see what I'm saying? Like there's a little back and forth.
Yeah.
And you want to do like a linear process with this almost.
Yes.
Because like it's kind of like how Ashley said, like you're building that story and you're reaching a peak of your story and then you're going down.
Okay, so I need to say there were no conversations about mental health. So when I started at Ball State, I knew I wanted to do something to help others.
Yeah, like I'd already had the experience helping others and I was interested in learning more about it or something like that.
Okay, so should I say I wanted to do something to help others? Do I say growing up I was like very caring, so it was like my nature, or do I not? Do I take that all out?
I would still include it, but I would include it. So like you're talking about your anxiety a lot in the beginning, but it might be good to like have like I was nervous. I had a lot going on in my life, but I have tried to always be there for my friends. I was the therapist. Like they would still talk to me. There was lots of drama, but girls would still be mean to me. They would think I had a perfect life and stuff, and I'd get hot flashes. My heart would race, and I was constantly living on edge, so I didn't really see an issue with it. There were no real conversations happening about mental health. So then when I got to Ball State with my passion already for wanting to help people because of how I had with my friends in the past, I found my minors in sociology and mental health.
So should I?
Sorry, did that make sense?
No, it did. I just I don't know. So I also agree. I agree with what you're saying. I just don't know how I'm going to incorporate it in my first paragraph. Like,
may I see it?
Yeah, it's just in my notes, so it's like not anything. Like,
yeah.
You can unplug it if you need.
That's fine.
Was Carter good at your talk? Was he
yeah,
nice?
He's really funny.
Good.
He's one of my favorite people too.
I know.
So what I would do.
I feel like she paired us with all good people. Like everybody's gonna help each other.
Yeah. I think it'll work out very well. So what I'm thinking is that growing. So do you care if I cut and paste?
Yeah, no, I don't care.
I don't have a fancy laptop, so this is scaring me. My laptop is literally from when I was like a sophomore in high school too.
I just bought this when I came to college.
When I was a sophomore in school, I would constantly worry. Though I had every reason to. At this time, my family was living paycheck to paycheck, and we recently lost our house. I was also very caring to the people around me, and on top of my friends' religious trauma and heartbreaks, there was a lot of it. Let me tell you. My friends always told me I was their counselor. I have always cared about others' well-being, and I'm still like that to this day. But I was always worrying about the negative things in my life. I was on edge, waiting for the next thing to go wrong in my life. Girls were mean and saying that my life was perfect because of the way I dressed and held myself. In reality, they were wrong. I would break into hot flashes and feel sick to my stomach. My heart felt like it was beating out of my chest at times. I was living on edge, so it made sense that I felt this way. At this time, it wasn't mainstream to talk about issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction. There was no conversation about mental health. So when I started Ball State, I knew I wanted to do something to help others.
That sounds so good. That sounds so much better than what I had. Wow.
I now have a minor in mental health and sociology. I have learned about others around me and myself, and I can also now tell you I know for sure I've been suffering from anxiety from a young age.
You're so good. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Of course, that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
If you don't like it, also you
No,
won't.
I love it.
Okay.
I think that sounds so much better than what the book I was saying. So then I read this. It's like back and forth, back and forth. Okay. So then I say, after learning this, I knew that I was not the only person who has probably been going through these things and didn't know what was happening to them. I need to read it. After learning this, I knew that I was not the only person who was going through these things and didn't know what was going on with them.
I now knew that I wasn't alone, and that many others like me were uneducated about what was happening to them.
I don't know where you learn shit from.
I was an only child, so I had to learn how to be an adult really fast. I didn't even have any cousins to talk to.
Really? Okay, so after learning this, I knew
I wasn't alone, and that there were many others like me that didn't know what was happening or going on.
for those of you who may not know, just like I didn't, the word anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome.
So, with all of the big words that are in here, I know that they're kind of harder once you're like reading through like for the first couple of times. What I would say is that I give myself 3 days before. I can't say it fully, fluidly, without my script. 3 days before, change the word.
Okay.
Just a piece of advice, because I also struggle sometimes with like talking fast and that type of stuff. And so if you can't get it completely with those words 3 days before, change them.
Okay. Because imminent is like just not.
Imminent.
Yeah. Like. Okay. For sure. I'm gonna write that down. Okay.
Because it still gives you 3 days to then practice the new words, and you choose words that are easier for you to say, that have maybe more consonants.
Okay. Do I need to list all these symptoms? Because there's a hell of them. Restlessness and a feeling of being on edge, uncontrollable feelings or worrying, increased irritability.
What I would say with them, like for the symptoms of anxiety, be like, the ones I experienced were this, but there are so many more. So that way you're still listing some of them, or you could be like, as I had mentioned before, these are some of the ones I had experienced, or I know that are super common. But there are so many more symptoms out there that people don't know how to recognize. We're at 30 minutes.
Oh, I don't know.
Just so you know, before this is done, I want you on your feet at least once fronting it with one hand.
One hand?
Like you can hold the laptop with one hand, but like I want to see what you're gonna do with the other one.
Okay.
You should have seen it, Carter and I were like jumping up and down, like being like boxes. so also just to show you kind of like the body language I'm thinking with your speech.
Okay.
So you're talking about a thing that's like really sensitive, and so a lot of us like when we're talking, I'm gonna come over here. Like I don't want to look crazy in front of this right now. It's like a lot of us like when we're talking about things that make us kind of insecure and stuff, we'll keep our hands more close to us, like we'll talk more like this, but we really try to like we involuntarily protect ourselves. I want you open. I want you to be like, this is what I experienced in high school. I had anxiety. I had hot flashes. I was going through the ringer, like open, keeping your body open to the audience, like almost cheat out with your feet, so that like, and when do you know what a cheat out is? You were a dancer, so I assume cheating out like you almost do like a half like this, but you like don't do it that extreme, but like you literally like you're literally opening yourself up, like you're making your entire body open, because that way people know I'm not still anxious about this. I'm not, no, I'm open. I'm here to talk about it. I want you to know my experience and learn from it and get that information.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry, I know you're typing.
No, you're fine.
Put that out there.
I bet we can wrap this up at like 40, probably like 9 more minutes. Okay, so then I can stand up.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now I said, listed what I felt. I said, again, these are the ones I faced, although there are so many more.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying all of us have anxiety, because that is not true. Because hella people are going to have felt those things. But although I bet most of us have felt many of these at one time, it is normal. It is a normal part of life to experience occasional anxiety. Although, if you are feeling many of these every day, then you may want to talk to someone. Anxiety is very real and very serious. From learning about mental health, I thought I was very self-aware about my mental state, and I felt great about it. It had been a while since I had anxiety issues until about a month or two ago. It was almost unbearable.
So right there, I'd be like, it hit me out of the blue, knocked me like a ton of bricks. It was unbearable.
Okay.
Because you kind of just like, all of a sudden, I have anxiety again. And you want to kind of give them a little bit, like, it came out of nowhere, like I've been doing well.
Okay. It had been a while since I had anxiety issues until about a month or two ago. It hit me out of the blue, and like a ton of bricks. It was almost unbearable. Although this time it was worse, because I knew it was happening to me. I knew what my brain was doing, and I knew that if I didn't get help in the next month or two, it was going to be very bad for me. Is that good?
Yes.
Is that part good?
Yes.
Okay. Is that stupid to say? Like, I knew it was going to happen if I didn't get the help?
No.
Okay.
That's you as, like, you've already mentioned your minor, like, you know what's kind of going to happen.
Okay, cool.
Like, you can self-identify.
Okay. I went home after a long week of being on edge, carrying t-shirts in my book bag in case I had a bad hot flash and constant nausea. I opened up to my mom about everything I had been feeling. She was in no surprise when I told her, because she really wasn't surprised.
I would say she wasn't surprised because she knows I've experienced this before. I wouldn't, unless it's super important to you, I wouldn't necessarily mention the fact that your mom is your best friend in it.
Yeah, I took that out. Yeah.
Because it's not, well, it's very sweet and I love it. It's not pertaining to
It's not
what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then I say, we researched so many doctors, therapists, and exercises to help control what I was feeling. And then CBD came up.
Exercises.
So like breathing exercises, yogas, workouts.
It sounds like you're saying exercise is, like someone to exercise you. So maybe say some like breathing exercises or
So I said, and exercises such as yoga and breathing to help me.
Breathing techniques. Because it sounds like you don't know how to breathe.
I'm gonna say to calm me down. Okay. Then CBD came up. I will let you guys know I am not a weed smoker. So when CBD came up, I was like, no way I'm taking this. Although,
It's worded a little weirdly.
okay.
Or it's worded a little weirdly. I said it's weirdly a little worded. I'll let you know now, I'm not a pot smoker. And when I first heard of it, I did not think that it would work for me. Like that better. Because if you would go like, because I was like, actually, no. So I would say, when I first heard of it, or I will let you know now, I'm not a pot smoker. And when I first heard of it, I thought, no way, this will not work for me. And I'm not interested.
Although my mom had told me that my cousins have been taking it ever since my aunt passed away, and it has really been helping them cope.
But then my mom told me, you don't need that although there.
Fuck you, although. Because that's the only reason why I started taking it. I was living life with anxiety and trying to calm myself down every day with tips and tricks of what I had learned from class, but it just wasn't enough. So the next morning, my mom and I went to a vitamin shop to get a bottle of CBD. Many of you are probably thinking, is this girl high right now while giving this speech? And I can tell you I'm not.
So for those of you who don't know, CBD does not make you high. It's different than THC. So for anyone wondering if I showed up to class today high, the answer is obviously no.
So for those of you who don't know, CBD is very juicy. If you are wondering, because people will think that.
I would, if it was me saying it, it'd be like, if people are wondering if I had the balls to show up today high, the answer is no, because it doesn't do that, but that's me.
Yeah, if you said that, if I said that, people are like, what the fuck is wrong
Yeah,
there?
so I would just be like, the answer is obviously no.
So for those of you who don't know, CBD is very different than THC. And if you're wondering if I am high right now, the answer is no.
I would say obviously no. But that, I would put that in there, because like,
And I can have some attitude.
yeah.
Once I'm comfortable. I feel like I'm such like a...
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Totally fine.
CBD pills, oils, and gummies are high in CBD and low in THC. CBD specifically comes from the flowers and leaves in the hemp plant. The human body has a vast network of receptors called the I'm gonna have to know this. I'm gonna have to fucking get this word down. Endocannabinoid. Called the endocannabinoid. Endocannabinoid.
Go on to Google Translate it from English to English, and then see how Google pronounces it.
Okay. Right now. Called the endocannabinoid. That's literally that has to be how it's said. System. Which helps us maintain overall wellness and keep many of our physical processes moving in the right direction. CBD stimulates the receptors, helping the body complete its efforts to keep us in good health. CBD is made to help support a sense of calm for focus, manage everyday stresses, recovery from exercise-induced inflammation, and maintain healthy sleep cycles. That's all I have. So I don't know how to wrap it up.
So my advice would be, you're missing your big moment. Like, you're missing your aha type moment. I think you could do it about around the time you found something like that. Maybe, or like maybe further on, but you have to have that moment. You have to have that peak, uh, or else the audience is just like, okay, so I sat through an infomercial for CBD oil.
So after I kind of do educate on CBD, can I say I kind of want to do my aha moment then.
Okay.
I just don't know how to make it aha.
That's really not something I can really help you with. Like, you just have to find that drop moment. Like, maybe you could write a list to describe how CBD oil has helped you, and then find the most powerful one and find the way to write it in the most powerful way.
Okay.
Because I don't know how CBD oil has helped you. Like, I know like how you describe it now, but you're the only one who can really drop the mic in this situation with it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So I feel like this is like a good amount of stuff, and I feel like anything that I write is really just my drop the mic moment and wrapping it up. So
Yep.
Do you want me to say like?
I want you to run all of it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying with the laptop in one hand.
Yep. Okay. And like actually try to do the body language and stuff that you're going to do.
Oh wait, we wanted to do a transition from out of the 80,000 people, 64,000 suffer from anxiety. We're supposed to put a transition before when I was a sophomore in high school.
And out of that 64,000, one of them is me.
Ow!
Out of the 64,000 you've met in your life, or 64,000 you met in your lifetime that struggle from anxiety, one of them is me.
No, 64,000. Pause, Olivia. Because I'm like, so when I was a sophomore in high school, I'll just keep going on and I won't ever stop.
I would say when I was a sophomore in high school, I wouldn't say so when.
Okay.
It has more of an impact.
Yeah.
So when.
I'm going to go over here too. Okay.
You don't need to sign it?
I know you're not going to judge me because you're not a judger, but I just get so nervous to do presentations.
You do you. How do you do?
I'm going to stand like over here because I don't want people to hear me. Okay, so. On average, we interact with a minimum of 3 people a day. We can remember the people we have interacted with from the age of 5. And if you live to at least 78, you'll have interacted with 80,000 people in your lifetime. And to me, that is a lot. Of those 80,000 people, 64,000 of them suffer from anxiety. And of that 64,000 people you will meet in your lifetime who suffer from anxiety, one of them is me. When I was a sophomore in high school, I was worrying constantly. Should I okay.
Just do what feels natural.
Okay. I just don't know. I don't know what feels natural. Okay. When I was a sophomore in high school, I would worry constantly, although I had every reason to. At this time, my family was living paycheck to paycheck, and we had just recently lost our house. I also was a very caring person to everyone around me. I loved helping my friends with the latest drama and the latest heartbreaks, and let me tell you, at my high school, there was a lot of them. My friends always told me that I was their counselor. I have always cared for other people's well-being, and I am still like that to this day. But I was always worrying about the negative things in my life. I was on edge waiting for the next thing to go wrong in my life. Girls were mean and saying that my life was perfect because of the way I dressed and how I held myself. In reality, they were wrong. I would break into hot flashes, feel sick to my stomach, and my heart felt like it was beating out of my chest at times. I was living on edge, though, so it made sense that I would feel this way. At this time, it was not mainstream to talk about issues like anxiety, depression, or addiction. There were no conversations going on around me about mental health. So when I went to Ball State, I knew I wanted to do something to help others. I now have a minor in mental health and sociology. I learned so much about the people around me and about myself. I can also now tell you, I know for sure that I have been suffering from anxiety from a young age. After learning this, I knew that I was not alone, and there are so many more people out there like me that did not know what was happening to them. For those of you who may not know, just like I didn't, anxiety is defined as always worrying, a feeling of worrying, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. The symptoms of anxiety I experienced were nausea, heart palpitations, concentration difficulties, uncontrollable feelings or worrying, sleep difficulties, and restlessness. Again, these are the ones I faced, but there are so many more symptoms out there. Now, I am not saying all of us have anxiety, because that is not true. Although I bet most of us have felt many of these at one time. It is a normal part of life to experience occasional anxiety. Although if you are feeling many of these every day, you may want to talk to someone, because anxiety is real and very serious. From learning about mental health, I was very self-aware, I should have paused there, about my mental state and felt great about it. It had been a while since I had any anxiety issues until about a month or two ago. It hit me out of the blue, like a ton of bricks, and it almost felt unbearable. Although at this time, it was worse, because I knew what was happening. I knew what my brain was doing, and I knew that if I didn't get help in the next month or two, it was going to be very bad for me. I went home after a long week of feeling on edge, carrying t-shirts in my book bag in case I had a bad hot flash, and constant nausea. I opened up to my mom about everything I had been feeling, and she was not surprised when I told her, because she had known I had been feeling this way before. We researched so many doctors and therapists and exercises such as yoga and breathing techniques to try to calm me down. Then CBD came up. And I will let you guys know I am not a pot smoker. So when I heard of it, I thought, no way, this will not work for me, and I was not interested at all. But then my mom told me that my cousins have been taking it ever since my aunt passed away, and it had been really helping them cope. I was living life with anxiety and trying to calm myself down every day with tips and tricks of what I had learned in class, and it just wasn't enough anymore. So the next morning, my mom and I went to the vitamin shop to get CBD. So for those of you who don't know, CBD is very different than THC. So if you're wondering if I am high right now, the answer is obviously no. CBD pills, oils, and gummies are high in CBD and low in THC. CBD specifically comes from the flowers and leaves of the hemp plant. The body has a vast network of receptors called the endocannabinoid system, which helps us maintain overall wellness and keep many of our physical processes moving in the right direction. CBD stimulates the receptors, helping the body complete its efforts to keep us in good health. CBD is made to help a sense of calm for focus, manage everyday stresses, recovery from exercise-induced inflammation, and maintain healthy sleep schedule.
Okay. So you're at about 6 minutes and 30 seconds there, minus about 15 for the pauses and stuff. I would say you're about 6:15, which is pretty good. You have at least 10. You have at least, 3 minutes and 45 minutes and 45 seconds before you hit 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Volume. I didn't notice it as much when you were sitting across from me because I feel like you felt you had to be louder when you're standing up. It's a great thing to be loud, but there's a difference between talking like this the entire time and fluctuating it a little bit.
Okay.
You have like great projection, so like don't stop projecting it, but it comes with sort of like the emphasis on certain words and pausing. You have to do volume differentialness, whatever. You have to change up your volume, because when you'd be like, so there's one line that I felt like you could have delivered totally different and it would have been really super powerful. I'm not a pot smoker, so I obviously thought at the very beginning, no way, this isn't going to work for me, I'm not interested. But then my mom told me, not interested, but then my mom told me that my cousins started taking it when my aunt passed away and it really been helping them. So the next day we went to the vitamin shop and I got some CBD oil.
Yeah, so I need to bring this presentation to life.
Basically, there's like something in my pants stabbing me right now. I know. But like, you have to use your body language and your voice to deliver the story. Because like, it's good, but you have to, I feel like you're getting so caught up in like the science of it. And,
yeah.
Like, that, but it's still a story. You still have to do a little give and a little take. So like, remember how I talked about kind of the openness a little bit too? You were doing well and you're like walking like this and walking like this, but at some point if you just stand, look at the audience and kind of go like this, that will be really effective because it's literally just like, I did it. This is what happened. I bought it. I did the CBD.
Yeah.
Like that. That'll be super effective for that delivery because that's almost like a mini mic drop moment. It's like it's building up, and you finally found this thing, but you weren't sure you were gonna do it. You tried it. And I think it'll be really powerful if like you're building up to it and like you're kind of wavering a little bit and you're like, I knew immediately I didn't think I was gonna do it. I wasn't sure, but like then my mom mentioned to me that my cousins had been doing it since my aunt passed away and they were anxious.
And the things at school weren't working anymore.
My habits that I was trying to learn from class weren't really working anymore. So then the next morning, we went and I got the CBD oil. And I feel fantastic now. And then you go into that for those who, like, that's like a mini mic drop moment. If that makes sense. Like, you want that delivery to be extra powerful. Let me check our time here. We're at 53 minutes, so do you have any extra questions?
No, I just think I really just need to like listen to like how you're telling me to talk. Like how I need to.
What I would do, record yourself doing it. Don't try and do any extra emphasis. Record yourself talking, and then write down the words that you think you should emphasize. Because where I think you should emphasize and where you think you should emphasize might be different because you're the one who's telling the story. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's up to you how you want it to ebb and flow. And then just find your mic drop moment.
Yes, I need to do that. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna say. I might text you and be like, is this the mic drop moment?
That's fine. I do not mind helping outside of this as well because I'm gonna need all the help I can get to.
Because what's yours about?
Mine, I'll pause it because we're good.